You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Andrew Balfour's Truth and Reconciliation concert series continues this coming Monday, Louis Riel Day in Manitoba, when Dead of Winter presents Notinikew, Going to War. The composer's mini drama on the plight of Indigenous veterans that serves as part anti-war statement, part commentary on the overlooked role of those individuals, and part testament to the sheer power of the human voice. To hear more about Notinikew, I'm joined by Andrew virtually and conductor curator Mel Braun here with me in studio. Good morning, both.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to have you. Andrew, I need to start off with a big congratulations on the Juno nomination for your work, Nagamo, with Vancouver-based Musica Intima. Just to be nominated, such an achievement. How does it feel?
It feels pretty surreal. It's still kind of processing it, but it's all good. You know, we're all doing important work, and I feel that you know, I'm honored, obviously, of course, but you know, the real work is making music and our choral music, especially with Dead of Winter and other choirs, to the public. It's an honor. It feels good.
Well, it is most deserved. And but just before we get talking about Notinikew, Mel, let me ask you, as someone who has known and worked with Andrew for such a long time, what is it like for you to see him get this broader recognition for his singular compositional voice?
Yeah, it's really, it's really exciting. For Andrew going through his journey, and for Dead of Winter, with Andrew's help, to take this work that we've been doing in Winnipeg now, probably 10, 15 years. And this unique voice that Andrew has created, where we collaborate with other artists. It's a bunch of settlers in the choir doing work together with the Indigenous. So this is part of the whole Truth and Reconciliation effort. And to see all of that from Winnipeg now expanding to a bigger, I guess, national platform, and we hope eventually international, it just feels good. We're great at producing curlers and hockey players. Who knew?
Well said. And I mean, like you were just talking about, we here in Winnipeg have been lucky to have listened and learned from Andrew and Dead of Winter, formerly Camerata Nova, for years. So let's turn to this upcoming show on Monday. Our latest opportunity to do exactly that: listen and learn. Andrew, this is a mini drama, a mini opera. Is that right?
Yeah, I like the idea of mini drama because it is a drama. Like, you know, whenever we talk about war, all war is insanity. Even this present day right now, everything's insane. So I wrote this piece in 2017. You know, Dead of Winter did it first, in remembrance of the idea of the 100th anniversary of the signing of the armistice that ended World War I. So I always felt that war, that conflict, was when Europe lost its mind. Literally, they lost their mind, and then it became this huge conflict where they needed to draw on more. Indigenous soldiers weren't allowed to fight for the first 2 years of that war. And it became, you know, when they losing men and young men. I mean, that's the other thing about this Notinikew. It's about young men, you know, sacrificing their lives for this endeavor. So the last 2 years of World War I, Indigenous soldiers went and fought. So I always ask myself, like, why did they go fight? You know, they didn't have any rights. They couldn't vote. They couldn't leave their reserve without permission from the government. They couldn't do their ceremonies. But I think most of them went, that if they went and sacrificed their time and effort, and most of them their lives, they would be able to come back to that recognize them. But that was not the case. So that's the drama of Notinikew.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there's so much to unpack there, and this a choral commentary that we've spoken about before. Like you said, it was premiered back in 2018, part of the event Fallen, the second concert in the Truth and Reconciliation concert series. It was most recently performed in Edmonton a few months back. Has the work evolved or changed since its premiere, Andrew?
Oh, very much so. I mean, I think like all work, particularly my work, often needs editing, and Mel knows this because Mel always like conducts on the fly, you know, like, like sometimes even the rehearsal before the concert, I was like, can we do this? Can we do that? And not many conductors or musicians can do that on the fly, because I think that music is always evolving. We're used to in the classical world is, if we're doing the Mass in B minor by Bach or Beethoven 5, there's always a set, but I always feel that we can, it can always evolve. We can change things. We can change tempos. We can change even the language, movement sometimes. The performance in Edmonton was a wonderful experience with the Kronos Vocal Ensemble. And Mel came out to help guide us, and we all learned, how to make something a little bit tighter in some ways. As a composer, I edited things a little bit more, but it'll change. It'll change on Monday the 20th in Winnipeg, and it might even change a little bit on the 24th in Montreal. So we're pretty flexible, and not many ensembles can do that on the run, change things, and that's how strong Mel's. That's why I trust Mel 100% when he's conducting my music, and also the singers react so well to his leadership, and we share a vision, and that's the most important thing.
So Mel, let me ask you, as the conductor curator of this work, you just heard Andrew talking about what it's been like working with you on Notinikew. What's it been like for you living with this music and returning to it now a few years later?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, it's a busy score. There's a lot going on. As Andrew said, we have a lot of resources in the choir. This is the choir that can create soundscapes, that does a lot of drones and overtones, and that can evolve with its pacing. So coming back to it, yeah, that's been really something. I was curious to see what our rehearsals would be like. Singers have just picked it right up. And I think one of the key things that vision things that Andrew and I share is storytelling. And so the storytelling has evolved because so much has happened with TRC even since 2018. And now being able to look at the score again, and having worked through the Cree pronunciations with Winston Watney, who's going to be our narrator here in Winnipeg, just having a fresh appreciation for how the language works and how the choir can work in this context. It's a small ensemble, 14 singers, and we're singing in big places. We had this experience when we did Captive in Toronto, being able to, with 14 singers, fill the building with the emotion and the storytelling. And that is one of the things that has really evolved. And just seeing with Andrew's scores, Andrew knows, we talk about this all the time. Occasionally his pianissimos, I don't quite do. And it's an ongoing discussion.
It's a living work, though, as Andrew was just talking about. It's a living work.
Yeah,
it is not set in stone. It is not, on a tablet. Well, it might be a virtual tablet if you're conducting off an iPad, but I know you've got the score here in front of you. So you just mentioned Winston Watney, who's going to be a narrator for this. Can you tell us a little bit more about the format, Mel, and some of the guest artists who will be joining Dead of Winter?
Sure enough. I mean, the piece has, Notinikew itself has 15 movements, which includes 3 songs by Corey Campbell, our Anishinaabe songkeeper here, and then also involves 3 narrations that Winston will be doing, as well as the Winnipeg Boys Choir doing a few things. And so the story will evolve from beginning to end with the 8 choral movements and the Winston's work and Corey's songs interspersed. And it does trace a journey from really the dark PTSD sort of experience of war through to healing and hope at the end as the ceremonies begin to be embraced. That's the wonderful theme. Bring us back our ceremonies.
Very powerful indeed. One last question for you, Andrew. And we sort of started off this conversation by talking about the Juno nomination and sort of the broader recognition that you're getting across the country, especially in recent months and in recent years. Mel was just talking about how Captive made its way to podium in Toronto and what that was like for the audience there. And you mentioned earlier in this conversation that coming up on the 24th, you'll be presenting this work, Notinikew, at the New Music Festival in Montreal, which again will, I think, reintroduce you or again introduce you to a broader audience, as that is just a big deal to put it very lightly. What is the significance of this work for you, and then that opportunity to share it with so many individuals as you continue to present Notinikew in a number of different formats?
It is the thrill of a lifetime, personally, to be able to to Dead of Winter after 27 years, when we started out, singing madrigals in a little living room. And then 27 years later, we're actually presenting, Indigenous storytelling in the major hall in Montreal. That's where the Orchestre Symphony de Montréal performs, at Place des Arts in downtown Montreal. I mean, none of us could have predicted this. And I even think the entire Indigenous community, arts community in Canada could not have thought that this little 60 scooper from Manitoba would be able to write a piece, and then it would be presented in one of probably the most prominent and prestigious new music festivals in the country in Montreal. It's an honor, but it's like important that that Dead of Winter is doing what I always wanted to do: tell stories. And collectively, we've been doing it for a long time. And to be able to do it in a new music festival, like an international new music festival, is not only just a testament to the singing and artistry of Manitobans, because we're representing Manitoba in this, but also we're representing Indigenous storytelling, and that's the Canada that I want to be part of. Because as Mel mentioned, it's a settler choir, or But I think that everybody that's taking part in this understands the importance of what we're doing. We're not doing Mozart and Bach. We're doing something very relevant to the vision of this country and what we want to be. And it's important for all Canadians to be able to listen to this story. So as wonderful and thrilling as it is, it's also a lot of important work. And the singers have been singing, rehearsing the last couple of weeks, and we're thrilled to be doing it in Winnipeg and Montreal. But even when we finish that, we have much more stories to tell. And I think that's the amazing thing about Dead of Winter, is that we're locked and loaded right now. To use that analogy, it's probably appropriate to this.
Yeah.
But we're definitely, we definitely feel that we have more to say. So that's the thrilling endeavor that we're in right now.
Well, so excited to hear what you have to say next. And you mentioned just going from singing in living rooms to an internationally renowned new music festival in Montreal. I can't wait to see what the next 2 months, 2 years, 20 years brings for Dead of Winter, and for you, Andrew. Mel, thank you so much for being here.
And if I could just add one thing.
Yeah.
Andrew is a huge Habs fan, so that's double honor. We have to say that.
Yeah, we don't hold it against him.
We don't hold it against him.
Yeah.
The other thing I forgot to add before is just that we have the wonderful cellist, Leanne Zacharias, who will be improvising underneath the narration. So that's a part of things that we wouldn't want to miss either.
No, not at all. And it's one of those that you best experience in person. I remember Chris Dirksen gifted us with some music when you were in studio in 2018 chatting about Fallen, and now for opportunity for the Winnipeg audience to have the opportunity to once again see and experience Notinikew. That's coming up this Monday, Louis Riel Day at the Ukrainian Labor Temple. That's February 20th, 7:30 p.m., 591 Pritchard Avenue. Mel, Andrew, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Great pleasure. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Simon.